Hey everyone, welcome back to my channel. I know it's been a hot minute since I've been on here. Life is just crazy, and it's probably been like a year since I've actually uploaded a video, which is insane. And I know I said I was going to do a bunch of things and I just haven't. So I'm trying to get back into it. I actually just recently went part-time, so I'm actually going to be trying to do this more often. I'm not sure how it's gonna go yet, but I definitely want to try and keep up with it if I can. So that is that. But I just wanted to come on here today and I wanted to do a little bit of a story time. And this story time is going to be about my son's jaundice and our NICU stay. And I just wanted to do a little story about that because I know I didn't really go into detail about the specifics and everything about the jaundice and the NICU situation when he was born. He is now 14 months old. Don't ask me where the time has gone because I absolutely have no idea. It's literally insane. I'm not ready for him to grow up any more than he already is. But time flies and it's crazy, and this year has flown by like crazy. I bet a lot of people can agree with that. So with that being said, let's get into the video. Okay, I'm gonna give you guys a little bit of a recap before I go into the actual story, so I can tie it all together kind of. So I went into the hospital on Monday, I got admitted, and then I was induced on Tuesday, had my son on Wednesday. So I had my son on Wednesday, and I had planned to breastfeed him. And so I had lactation consultants, I was pumping as well, which was going extremely well. He wasn't latching very great, but he was latching and my milk came in immediately, so it was perfect. Like everything was like going perfectly, I felt. I had high blood pressure, so we had to stay in the hospital a little bit longer than anticipated. So I literally, I had to stay until Sunday, and I guess about around probably like Thursday, Friday-ish is when they had started to see that he was a little bit on the more like yellow orangish side, which would indicate jaundice. And so that was really a frightening thing. They drew his levels and they were on the verge of jaundice, and so they wanted us to track his poops, his pees, how long I was feeding him, and everything. So that was really hard in itself, to be having to track all that all while you're trying to just like adapt to like becoming a mom and breastfeeding and everything. It's just a lot. And with me having high blood pressure and having to take all these medications and having to be checked constantly to make sure I'm okay, hooked up to a blood pressure cuff constantly, it was a lot. So I was breastfeeding him, and like I said, around Thursday or Friday they had seen that he was more on the like his levels of jaundice were higher than they should be, and so we had to put him under the light to do like the phototherapy. And so I literally had to watch my like baby in a diaper. He's just in a diaper laying under a light for hours on end. The only time I could take him from under the light was if he was eating, or or had to change his diaper or whatever. That was literally it. I had to keep him under there 24/7. Like when you're a new mom, you just want to hold your baby and you just want to be able to like go to sleep without having to worry. And I was literally laying in my bed next to him. He's under this light and I can't sleep because I'm like, my son is over here. He looks so uncomfortable. I can't take him out because if I take him out, I'm jeopardizing his health. But like, I just want him with me. And I guess I could have kept him under a little bit more. There were times where I did take him out when I probably shouldn't have, but I really just wanted to be with my son, and my son needed comfort as well. There were times where he was crying and I was like, do I take him out? Do I not take him out? Like, he's upset, but like, I don't know what to do. it was so hard. So they kept drawing his blood constantly and constantly see if the levels were going down. They were going down, but very slowly going down. It was a good sign that they were going down, but it was very slow progressing. It was so hard to watch. So I want to say it was probably like Friday night. I had a whole entire mental breakdown. The sweet night nurse that we had, because the morning nurse or the daytime nurse, she was okay, but she was not that nice, to be completely honest. But the nighttime nurse, she was so sweet. I think I had my mom over there with me at one point, and obviously I have all these emotions going through. Like, I had already had family issues in the hospital, and being like bashed. I wasn't really gonna go into that, but I'm not gonna go into that, but I was kind of being bashed for choices that I had made in the hospital when it came to my son and giving birth and everything. So that was really hard on me. I'm going through all these emotions. You know, I just gave birth. My hormones are crazy. I have this son that just like, I'm like, what do I even do? Like, this is a crisis to me. Like, I was going through all these emotions, and I had a legit mental breakdown. I started crying. I was trying to be strong the whole time, about the jaundice, and just, you know, trying to be like, okay, it's going to be okay. Like, you know, God has looked over me this whole time. My son is healthy. Like, the only thing wrong is this jaundice. That's it. So I know he's going to be okay. And it's just jaundice. A lot of babies have jaundice. And that's the truth. A lot of babies do have jaundice, and everybody was trying to tell me, like, they have jaundice, like, just put him in the sun, like, whatever. So I had a mental breakdown. My mom was there. I think Joey had actually gone to get me, like, a prescription, like, for my blood pressure medication, and I had to take like iron and stuff like that. So he went to go get that and go get me some food, because I had been tired of eating hospital food the whole time. My mom was there with me, and I was trying to be strong the whole entire time. The nurses would come in and be like, you're doing so good, like, it's fine, like, whatever. And I would just be like, yeah, like, I would cry behind closed doors. I had cried with Joey a couple of times. I was just like, I feel like a failure. Like, I don't know what I'm doing. Like, I was a mess. I'm just going to tell you right now, I was a whole entire mess. I'm like literally tearing up just thinking about it. So, sorry guys. So literally I had a whole entire mental breakdown when the nurse was in there, and she's like, are you okay? Like, everything's okay. Like, you know, you're doing good. Like, she was telling me, some moms don't even, and dads don't even do this for their kids. Like, literally, I've had to feed the children for the mom and dad. I've had to, like, literally do all of this for parents, because they don't do it. And I was shocked. I was shocked that she said that people have their kids and then they don't even take care of them when they're in like this kind of situation, and they just make the nurses do it. So she was like, you should be so proud of yourself. Like, you're doing it. Like, you know, you're doing what you have to do, and everything's going to be okay. And she was like, don't worry. Like, we're not going to let you go home without your baby. Like, as long as there's rooms open, you can stay here with your son. We won't make him go to the nursery or whatever, which was that was probably the scariest thing for me, was me going home without my son. And that was not going to happen, because if I had to do that, I was literally going to just lose it completely. But she was telling me, like, I'll do whatever I can do for you. Like, if anything, if you can't stay, like, I promise I will take care of your son. Like, I was literally beside myself. So come Saturday, his levels were going down. I think like Saturday night was finally like when he could not, like, he got to be taken off of the light. So his levels were okay enough for him to not be under the light. And so they had to see if they were going to go back up without the phototherapy. So Sunday rolls around and they draw his levels again in the afternoon, right before we're supposed to leave, because I'm supposed to leave by then. And they were like, do you have a doctor in mind? And I was going to take him to my pediatrician that I had went to, because I loved this doctor. The doctor knew me since I was like really, really young. He was so sweet and everything. I was gonna take him there, but then they were like, well, if you don't, like, we're scared that if you take him home, and like his levels were okay, but they'd risen a little bit. So they were like, okay, well, we need to be able to know that your son's levels haven't rose any higher when you leave. So we need you to make an appointment. If anything, if we're gonna send you home, you need to make an appointment with the pediatric place that I take him to now, so that they can draw his blood tomorrow, so that we can make sure that everything's going okay. And I was like, okay, well, we'll make an appointment right now. Like, we just want to go home. So we went. I was literally crying at that point. I was like, whatever I have to do to take my son home, because I just want to take him home. Like, I want him to be healthy, but I want to take him home. And they had let me take him home. So we got an appointment for the next day. It was like for like 7 or 8 something in the morning. The night was terrible. It was hard to deal with, because you're just like thinking about like, what if like his levels rise? What if they don't? Like what do we do? Like, I don't know. It was a whole mess. And then waking up and being delusional and trying to get out the door with a newborn for the first time. We literally were late by like 30 minutes or so. Forgot like literally everything. So it was just crazy. So we got to the doctor's office, and they drew his levels, and they had reached a critical level. I can just remember sitting there with Bryson, and I'm like, okay, like I'm like praying to God. I'm like, we're gonna go home. Like, everything's okay. Like, his levels are gonna be down. Like, this is gonna be okay. Like, everything's gonna be okay. And she comes in, the doctor comes in, and she's like, it's probably not what you want to hear, but his levels are very critical with his jaundice. And she was like, it's to the point where we have to send you guys back to the hospital. I'm going to send you guys back to the NICU. I'm literally sitting there bawling at that point. I'm bawling. I don't want to go back to the hospital. I do not want to go back to the hospital. That's the last freaking thing I want to do. I just took my son home for the first time, and now I have to bring him back. And not to mention, I had Bentley, and I'm over here crying about Bentley. So I'm like, I don't want to leave him any longer. I've been away from him for a week. He was with Joey's family, but it was just a whole mess with that. And so I'm freaking out, I'm crying. She's like, okay, I'm going to give you all the papers. You're going to go straight to the NICU. Or you can go home, like, get your stuff, and then you can go to the NICU. Like, I'm not sure if they're going to let you guys stay or not, but, like, you know, this and that, like, whatever. So we get there. We're like, we have to go to whatever floor the NICU is on. And we got there, and it's so weird. This is, like, it was so strange. But you have to, like, go in and, like, wash your hands and everything. And they had given us a room in the NICU. It was like, there's like a whole bunch of rooms. Like, I think there was like 4 rooms or 3 rooms. And then there was like a shared bathroom. It was the weirdest. These NICU rooms, I went to Brandon Hospital. These NICU rooms were like jail cells. They had no windows. They had a TV, 2 beds in it. And it was not fun. And you needed like to be let back in to your room. So like you couldn't just go in and out. Like you had to be let back in, which was so ridiculous. And then it was outside of where they actually keep the babies at. So you have to like get let in to the babies. They'll be like, oh, what's your last name? Rosado. And then they like open the door for you and let you in. So we put our stuff in our room, and then we had to go downstairs to like get registered or something. I don't know, something so stupid. We tried to get it done, and it took forever, and we didn't know where to go, and nobody knew where to send us, and it was a mess. And we finally got back up there. We didn't really know what to do. Since I had taken him home and then had to bring him back, I wasn't able to touch my son for 24 hours because of some kind of disease, or I don't even know. I don't know. So I was beside myself because I was trying to breastfeed, and they had a pump in the room, so I was just pumping and pumping and pumping and pumping, and that wasn't doing very well because the baby's suckling is what really helps produce the milk. So the pumping was okay, but it wasn't very great. We literally had to be let in and let back out, and we would literally, for the first, like, we went back in on Monday mornings. It was like 10 or 11. So we were literally allowed to sit there and watch him, and he was just sitting there under the light for the longest. And I would pump, and they would feed him the bottle that I pumped. And we got to meet a whole bunch of nurses. They were all pretty much really sweet until the last one. She was really weird, but they were all super sweet. I want to say on Tuesday morning, his levels had gotten to a point where they had to actually hook him up to hydration because he was dehydrated. And that was super scary because that was like to a critical point to where it could like mess with his brain function and like stuff like that, like where the jaundice could actually mess something up neurologically. And that was super scary because at that point, you know, I could touch him, I could hold him, but I had to hold him with all these wires on him. He had like monitors on him. He was hooked up to the IV. There was a nurse that finally, I want to say it was Tuesday night, she was the nurse. Finally, she was the nurse. This was a nurse I didn't really like, but she was like, okay, like, are you breastfeeding him? Because you can come every, I want to say it was 2 hours to come breastfeed him. And that's what I did. I was so stoked that I was going to be able to breastfeed him. Like, I was determined. I set my alarm every 2 hours. I would literally go in, breastfeed him. I would probably breastfeed him for like 30-45 minutes total, like 20 on each side or something like that. And then I would go back to my room, sleep for like an hour and a half. I would wake back up, go back again, feed him for that amount of time or longer, just depending on how long Bryson wanted. I would go back, sleep, come back, go back, sleep, come back. I did that for a good while, all throughout the day all throughout the night on Tuesday night. And that's when Joey actually couldn't stay with me on Tuesday night at the NICU. My mom came and stayed with me because he had to go back to work. We had been in the hospital for an entire week. Paternity leave sucks, and his job sucks with paternity leave. They only give him a few days. He had to use vacation time to stay with me in the hospital and in the NICU, and this was the final day he had to go back to work. So he went back to work. My mom came and stayed, and she woke up with me every 2 hours to come. And I can't thank her enough for that because I could not have done that by myself. But I was breastfeeding him every 2 hours, and things are finally going good. He got to be taken off the IV, and they were drawing his levels, and they were going down and down and down and down. And then they finally took him off the light on Wednesday. And it was like Wednesday morning, they took him off the light because his levels were stable. They wanted to wait a few hours to draw them. They drew them Wednesday afternoon. It took like an hour for them to come back. And they were finally like at a good place to where we could get sent home. Like they weren't gonna go back up. So I was so freaking happy that I was gonna get to take my baby home. I was so freaking excited. And I was also very grateful because being in the NICU, there was a baby next to us that wasn't doing as well. And the mom and dad were very, very young. So just watching like them go through that was really hard. And her having to be on a breathing tube and stuff, that was super hard. And seeing these little tiny babies that were born premature, it was it makes you grateful for your situation. I was grateful that it was only jaundice, but being that I had gone through all that I had gone through, it was still very, very hard to go through. But that being said, I can't thank the NICU nurses enough for taking care of my baby. That's, you know, something that as a new mom, you're like, well, this is my kid. Like, I don't want anybody else to touch my baby. I don't want anybody else to feed my baby or anything. And these women were amazing. These nurses were so amazing. And they were, I just can't thank them enough. And I can't thank my mom enough. And I can't thank Joey enough. Finally, I got to take him home. And that was really a hard time, especially going through what I had already went through in the hospital and during my birth and everything. My birth was good. My birth was amazing. I loved giving birth. I would do it all over again a million times. Like, I think I'm gonna sound super crazy for this, but it was one of the most fun things I've ever done in my life is give birth. But like, just what I was going through during my birth with family issues and stuff was not a good time. But with that being said, that's my NICU, Bryson's NICU story. We're very grateful that he's a healthy and happy, amazing baby. He's actually napping right now. But I just wanted to kind of give you guys a little bit of an insight about what happened, and why we had to stay in the NICU for 3 days. And yeah, and if anybody else has been through the same thing, you know, yes, everybody's situation is different. My situation was hard for me in a different way than it is for some others, and I am luckier than others. I'm not here to say that my situation is more important or that mine was harder than somebody else's, because I know there's harder things that I could have went through. This was just something that was extremely hard for me to go through. So thank you guys for watching. If you guys have any video ideas or anything that you want to see, comment down below, and I'll see you guys in another video.